Hello and welcome to this third video in the series JavaScript for Absolute Beginners. So in the last video I was writing JavaScript in Notepad, and that was just to demonstrate that you don't need any kind of fancy application to write and run JavaScript in a browser. But in light of better alternatives, most people wouldn't write JavaScript in the plain Notepad editor. Most developers use an integrated development environment, or IDE. So in this video, I'm going to be showing you how to set up an IDE. The one that I like to use is Visual Studio Code. It is absolutely free. So all you need to do is find it online. So I'll just search for it here, Visual Studio Code. Should be the first result that comes up. So click on that. And you should find that there is a version for whatever you're running. So download that, follow the setup instructions, and then we're ready to go. Just before we dive in with Visual Studio Code, I just want to mention that there are other alternatives. For example, Notepad++ is a very popular alternative. It has syntax highlighting. It's also free, but my personal preference is for Visual Studio Code, and that's the one I'll be using throughout the course. So I recommend if you're following along in this series, it's best to download Visual Studio Code. So once you've downloaded and installed Visual Studio Code, you should have a simple interface like this. So what I'm going to do is just close that. So what I'm going to do is open the JavaScript and HTML file we were working with in the last video in the plain Notepad editor and get them open now in Visual Studio Code. So to do that, I click File. I want to add a folder to Workspace, and then I just navigate to the one that I want. So New Project is the name of the folder. Add the folder and it will come up on the left-hand side, and that will contain all of the files that is in that folder. So we've got our index.html file and also the script.js file we were working with last time. Now you'll notice that both files have syntax highlighting, so it's much nicer than reading it in the plain Notepad editor. And also there's just lots of little things that help us code. We've got, for example, numbering on the lines. If I want to collapse a bit of code, I can do this. So if I'm not sure which tag relates to another one, I can just click on one of them and it's going to show me that this is the start body tag and this is the end body tag. I can do that for the header as well, or any other tag. And so using an editor like this just makes our lives a lot easier when we're coding. Now you'll notice this is an untitled workspace, so I'm going to go and save that now. So to do that, I save workspace as, and then in our new project folder, I'm just going to call this my new workspace. Okay, and now every time that I open the workspace, I'm going to get all of the files that are listed here. So when I open it, I'm going to get all of the files that are listed here once again. Now, if we want to open index.html, it's actually not so easy. We can click on to index.html. What we have to do is right click on here and then reveal in File Explorer. Okay, and then we have to double click on it. It's quite a long way round to do it that way. So what we can do is actually install a plugin. And this is a nice feature of Visual Studio Code. It has lots of plugins. Because it makes loading our index.html file or any HTML file nice and easy. So I've installed that now. Now, if I return to index.html, I can open it in my default browser. This has appeared, this wasn't here before, and this is going to open it without me having to reveal in File Explorer. There is another plugin that I would recommend you install, and that is Prettier. So this is a very popular plugin at the moment, and what it does is it formats your code and you can set it so it formats it on save. So you can see here 18.3 million downloads. So I'm going to install that now. And then we can go over to the file. And here, let's just create a little bit of chaos here. The formatting is bad. Okay, now I'm going to save it, and you'll notice that that was formatted there. Once again, if I Control Z, so I go back and save again. So it's formatted my code for me, and I forgot a semicolon here in the original code, and it's added that for me. So this means that you don't have to worry too much about code formatting because Prettier is going to do it for you. Okay, finally, there's a plugin that I personally don't use, but is very popular, so I want to show it to you. It's called Live Server. So what this does is it creates a virtual live server, and whatever changes you make to a script or to a HTML file are updated live. You don't have to refresh the page. So this is just taking a moment to install. Now, if I head over to index.html and open this, oh, so extension activation, okay. And now here, down here, it says go live. So I can click this. What this is going to do is going to open the index.html. Now, if I make a change to it, so actually the script is overriding it. So I could just say, save that again. So I'm not going to refresh the page, but you can see that it's already updated automatically. So the reason I don't like using this plugin so much is that I like to have the console open, and before I refresh the page, I like to see what the DOM was like before and then what it looks like afterwards. With this, you just see what happens afterwards. So you can obviously remember what you did before, but you don't see that you don't have this before and after that you can manually control. Okay, so that's it for the basic setup of Visual Studio Code. And now I think you'll agree that we're working in a much nicer environment than we were in the Notepad editor. So that is it for the Visual Studio Code setup. With this out the way, we're ready to start some serious coding in the next video.